Now, in the last 28 years, I've talked a whole lot about breaking your conditioning. And in the context of breaking your conditioning, I was focused predominantly on become aware of the New World Order, become aware of the political, corporate, and controlled religious system. And that was very, very important. But now we need to look at specifically how this system controls us. Now that global government and the Great Reset and the UN takeover is out in the open, backed up by Communist China, let's look at how they're really controlling us. Is it with armies? Is it with tanks and soldiers? No, that's how governments line up against each other. Because the governments at the top all know these tricks. They have militaries simply to physically be able to take each other out. But on the general population of the planet, the magicians, the controllers, use a technique that we're about to break down for you right now. So when we talk about reset wars, it's important to understand that Klaus Schwab and the Bilderberg Group and the Davos Group and the UN are all the same people, and their Great Reset is an attempt to stop our Renaissance, to stop our Great Awakening, to stop the acceleration of what has been the new Great Enlightenment in the last 500 years. And they understand that we're building a new system, that we're building a new Atlantis, as Francis Bacon called it. And so they're building a counterfeit new system that is really based on the old oppressive system. So when they say Great Reset, they're talking about stopping our mental and spiritual and energetic revolution against them. So this, my friends, is the real Great Reset to counter their fraudulent Great Reset. Let's set aside their counterfeit and their fraud. We've studied that enough. Hundreds of books have been written on it in just the last few years. I've done hundreds of broadcasts on it and special reports. Let's set that aside and let's talk about our Great Reset, my Great Reset, your Great Reset. In this chapter, we talk about what I've been discussing for decades, breaking your conditioning. But again, not breaking the conditioning by recognizing the New World Order. We've already won that battle. It's out in the open. We've drug it out in the light. It's now got the mask off. This is about us breaking our conditioning to the psychological programming and trauma-based mind control they are using. Breaking your conditioning, deprogramming your self-construct, and updating your systems. There is a self-construct that they've built for all of us, and then there are our real systems that we own, that are us, that is our true eternal identity, that again has free will and can be imprisoned, can be made insane, can be made delusional, so these architects of evil can control us. And we're breaking free from that. You are breaking free of that right now. And the more of us that break free of this, the stronger that energy of the infinite, the stronger that energy of God is going to be coming into the world, because we're all receiving and we are all broadcasting. Now let's look at a key quote from Buckminster Fuller. He said, "You never change things by fighting the existing system. To change something, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." The globalists know this. Their old model is coming to an end because of inflationary spending and corruption and people waking up to it. So they've already got the new model for us to step into, as if it's the cutting edge, as if it's the avant-garde, but it's really just another permutation, another version of all the same mind control that we are now trying to leave. And so that's why this, what we're doing, as I just said, is the Great Reset. And I know I'm repeating that, but I'm repeating that to myself as well, because this is the keys to total and complete victory. What is Fuller saying? Fuller is saying that we don't beat the Great Reset by fighting and yelling and getting angry or getting afraid. We beat it by changing who we are and how we perceive ourselves. And then once we begin to get our house in order, once we're not just some programmable puppet that they can manipulate and jerk our chain, other people are going to see the change in our lives. They're going to see that energetic value, and they're going to start emulating what you and I and others that are becoming more enlightened are doing. And that is the truest form of revolution. Just as the beginning of our Renaissance 500 years ago began with people just creating new beautiful art and new beautiful literature and not caring what the system said and not caring if they were threatened. A lot of people 500 years ago had to die to be able to up their energy, but they live on through us today, and we stand on our shoulders. All we've got to do today, because we have so many more freedoms than we did back then, because of the ongoing renaissance that we're part of, is simply change ourselves internally, energetically, and then everything else will flow from that. Because you don't change corrupt, out of control systems, especially when they're in their collapse phase. You build the lifeboats to a better new world, and people will follow when they see that these are real lifeboats that are indeed going to a better place. This is so easy if we just simply take it in our hands. Now, I'm not really going for my notes here, and I promised myself that even if I freestyle, I would go back to my notes, because a lot of times in my notes, there's a little turn of phrase that makes what we're talking about even clearer. So let's go back to it. When enough of us wake up, that's really what this is. Wake up to our self-constructs, begin deprogramming and breaking our conditioning, break your conditioning, that's when our personal realities and world will begin to change. And then others will see that, as I was just talking about. So let's start with your personality. Your personality is simply a programmed construct, a self-construct that creates your personal reality. Your personality creates your personal reality. And collectively, it creates our world, or the group collective, or the group subconscious, or the group conscious mind that the globalists are trying to program to create a false consensus of things that don't make sense and are lies, but we are all then being gaslit by the mass programming to believe things that just simply aren't true. How many things in our world are the equivalent of 2 + 2 = 100? You're like, no, the ability to be free is to say 2 + 2 = 4. The ability to be free is to say a man and woman have a baby. The ability to be free is to say that you have free speech. But all those things we're told now are the absolute no-nos, because it's all about a war on basic logic. Because if we can't even have logic in the third dimension, we're certainly not going to be able to grasp even more complex theoretical systems, that we are a infinite creature that has a manifestation in every dimension. This is your third dimensional manifestation. That's how incredibly powerful you are in the higher dimensions, that the higher dimensions manifested you here through the will of God and free will.